Yes, we're here. Okay, everybody, we are live. I hope maybe we can get some people to let us know that we are live. Jim, thank you. Thank you. I hope we're coming in loud and clear. Maybe you can kind of say that we are, but I appreciate you joining us today. And I'm so grateful that Rich could join us from Rags to Riches. We're praying for Maui. We're praying for Lahaina. My hometown, my childhood home is gone. I'm going to try to keep it tight and not cry. I don't have any Kleenex, so I can't cry. We are all at Maui Powder Works today. We're working and we're all kind of processing what's happened here on Maui differently. And so I'm very grateful that Rich is here to kind of hold my hand from far away and join the powder coating community, because I am kind of an extrovert, but I'm also someone that I need to get it out, and I want to share so much with you, because I want to give you some insights as to what's going on locally that you're not seeing in the news, not to make it gory or anything like that, or because your national news, and it's great that you're paying attention to the news and knowing enough about it, but and there is some gnarly stuff coming out on the news, but there are some heroic stories, there's some just awful stories, but there's some survivor stories, and there's just so much, and it's the human journey, and that's what it's always been about here at Maui Powder Works, is sharing our journey. And I know that the powder coating community is so strong, and we face this inner strength every day here as powder coaters. And it's that inner strength that I need from you guys today, and to get us through this, so I need you guys to help me and join me today to kind of help us raise some funds. I'm going to share some of my friends' stories, harrowing stories of what they were going through. And some of the local posts on my Instagram that have saved, that we're kind of piecing together what really happened. So, Rich, thanks for joining me today and being brave enough.
Yeah, well, it was kind of a last minute thing. You reached out and said, "Hey, can you join me tomorrow?" And I thought, it'd be a great opportunity for us, because I've had a lot of folks asking me questions. If I had heard from you or talked to you, or what's going on. We haven't heard from Kim on the podcast and whatnot. And so this is a great time to kind of let everybody know what's going on. And then also just to check in with you, like, how are you doing? Are you guys okay? Is the shop okay? Your family okay? How are you guys doing?
Well, we're doing okay. I mean, it was a 9/11 moment for me. When 9/11 happened, and I hate to bring up 9/11, but being in Hawaii, by the time we woke up at 9/11, like half a day was gone already, like so much had happened already. And it was the same thing. My phone, it was like covered in so many messages, texts, emails. Hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And I was like, am I okay with what? And
Right.
Ross went to the iPad and he went to the Drudge Report, and he goes, Maui made the front news and we're in red on the Drudge Report. And I'm like, what happened? And so it started for me. It was like really hot. And it was like the air conditioner wasn't working. So I said, Ross, just turn off the air conditioner and let's just leave the windows open, because it was actually cooler to have the windows open than have the AC going. It was like one of those kind of muggy nights. And
Right.
it was like, just leave the, and I didn't, I woke up kind of in the middle of the night and I could hear this guy running he was in his freaking souped up like car. We have like a grid patterned, um, where we live, it's all gridded out. And he was running up and down the streets, like up and
Right.
down, was going nuts, just high or whatever. And I could hear, and then he broke something on his car, right? So I just woke up right at the end where he was like trying to
Right.
break. and and then the next thing I remember is I kept smelling like smoke. And I'm like thinking to myself, it's a hell of a night to be doing smoked meats. Because we have a
Right.
lot of hunters up
Right.
in up country. Now we're up country, we're not in Lahaina. I've been talking at
Right.
length how much we moved out of Lahaina in
Right.
2020. We don't have our business there anymore. We don't live, we live up country now, and our business is in central Maui. And so I'm like, the winds are nuts. It's very gusty. It's a hell of a night to be picking to be doing smoked meats, bro. So
Right.
um and it was really strong. So I was thinking somebody nearby has got to be doing smoked meats. And then, but little did I know it was like a full on fire up country going on, and people were, already starting to have their houses being burned and stuff. There was two fires, one in up country, like high up country, Olinda area, and then one in like Kula, which is just above where we live. There
Okay.
was two of them. Um, and so we thought that that was what was happening when we heard all this, buzz on our phones.
Right.
But then we checked the news, and that's when Ross went over to the Drudge Report and realized, oh no, it's Lahaina that's on fire. And then we started seeing Front Street and the pictures. And the first news report, and I was going to try to find it, was these two kind of bummy looking. One of the first interviews I found was local news, and it was at one of the first centers, shelter centers, and it was these two kind of bummy looking guys that were describing. Oh, let me back up for just a second, because at the night before, the last time I was on social media was Facebook, and it was 6:30 at night, and some lady I know posted, can anybody help? It was on like like a Maui 24/7, which is like just a community page, just to
Right.
kind of help, or, you know, like a police type page, or, you know, one of those emergency board type
Right.
community pages. Okay. And it was the strangest post I'd ever read in my life. It said, can anybody, at 6:30 at night, I read it, can anybody send emergency help to Front Street? People are in the water and trapped by fire on Front Street. And I was like, I read that post and I was just like, that doesn't even make sense, like not knowing what she was talking about.
Right. Right.
But then all of a sudden, when I woke up the morning, I was just like, oh my God,
Makes
I mean,
sense.
that makes sense now,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
and then so going forward in the morning, they were these two bummy guys, that were living on one of the streets just a block from Front Street. They had ran down their street a block away to Front Street, down to because the fire was coming down the hill. They ran down to the harbor. They stopped where that image is that I have on our stream. So let me put the banner up for the GoFundMe. So if you go to our GoFundMe, and I'm gonna share my screen now, because I want to show you this image of why I picked this image of the GoFundMe too. So share the screen of, okay. So can you guys all see this image
Right.
here? Okay. So these guys are describing that they were standing here watching this fire, and because it's coming down this they'd come down a previous street ahead of here, but they had walked over here and they're watching this fire, and they were running over here, and there was a guy standing here who was smoking a cigarette, and he was just like watching this fire come down Front Street. And so the harbor is just right over here, like a street away.
Okay.
So um and they're like, you know, all the streets, the fire was coming down. And they're like, well, aren't you going to come down to the beach? You know, it's safer down there. And he's like, no, brah, I'm just going to stay here. And they're like, wait, you know, like,
Right.
you got to come with us. Come on, come on. He's like, no, I'm not coming. You know, I mean,
Hmm.
at that point, there were people realizing that these fires were people were already coming to their senses that these fires were so extreme that they were I don't know how to explain it, that maybe they were unsavable,
Oh,
or there was no escape,
right.
I guess is what I want to say. People were already kind of giving up. um, this might have been a little later, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
When I first saw the video of this one, this was one of the first videos I saw. This was Lahaina Pizza Company, and I, I mean, this is the building that is on fire here is the infamous building that, you know, Fleetwood Mac played in the
Oh,
70s,
right. Right.
and Elton John would get on the piano, and Aerosmith
Right.
you know, that time frame of all these burned out 70s
Right.
artists would come to Maui and just drop out and get away from the world. That is that building. It's probably one of the most iconic buildings ever, and it's on fire. So to me, that is right there is a very just I just
Yeah.
melted, you know. But anyways, I just want everybody, if they can, to go to the GoFundMe and donate
Absolutely.
what you can. $20,
Right.
25. I mean, I can't even believe that people have already given so much and out in the outreach. And here's the other thing. I've got high school friends that I haven't talked to in, well, I don't want to date myself, but like 30, almost 40 years.
Right.
And people that have been following us all along, and have reached out to Ross and I and said, I'm donating, and I can't, you know, I'm sorry I haven't talked to you, but, you know, I
Right.
follow you guys all the time.
Right.
And
Right.
it's great to talk to you again, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Boy. Tragedy will sometimes, it's a crazy thing, but you know, it's terrible, but it brings long lost friends and family together. You know, it's a shame that tragedies have to occur, but sometimes there's something good that does come out of the tragedy because it brings folks back together,
Yeah,
and reconnects. You know.
it does. It does. I think we've all kind of, as far as how we've dealt with it, we've all done it differently. Like Rob, our worker, he was MIA last week.
Mhm.
Um, he was talking to Ross. I thought he was working, because he kind of part time sometimes for the tow truck people. So I just thought he was hauling stuff or doing something. He just wanted to volunteer and help. So him and his wife just went over there and did rescue
Sure.
stuff, I guess. But some of his stuff is pretty harrowing. He said some of the stuff he saw was awful. There was a man that, I mean, when he came back to work, I just hugged him. I just, I mean, I know he was alive, so, but he just had to be active.
Right.
Some people just go into action and they have to be active,
Right.
I
Right.
guess, was his response. Um, he said that one of the first things he saw was a man sitting on his front porch, in a chair, just sitting, burned to death in ash, just in his, just sitting there, like as if he was a statue.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff you're seeing.
Yeah, it's terrible. Terrible.
Today's news or headlines, or last night's headlines, was they finally the government is finally copping to the fact that there's a lot of children in bodies
Ouch.
or dead.
Terrible.
Um, but there's a lot of old people too. I mean, I know it's easy to be okay with older people. They lived a life, or it's your grandma, grandpa. Okay, maybe less, but children, that's rough.
Yeah, that's the magnitude of the tragedy is, is overwhelming, and whether it's an elderly person or a child, it's a terrible, terrible tragedy, and so you can't minimize life, whether someone is elderly or in their prime, or a child, to
Yeah.
lose the life in that situation. No circumstances, just horrific, just horrible.
Ross is sort of more of the he's kind of the internal kind of guy. He just internalizes it. um he doesn't want to be on he doesn't want to be on the podcast, or I know he has something important to say or whatever, but he just doesn't want to be on the show right now.
Right.
Me, I'm kind of like a little bit of both. Like, everybody that reached out I mean, I was just so grateful. I mean, like the first day or two, like I couldn't believe my phone was just, everybody's phone's just blowing up right now. I mean, everybody on the island is just phones blowing up. Are you okay? Are you okay? And it was okay for the first day. I had people from like our fans, like South Africa, like everybody was just everywhere. And of course I'm everywhere on social media, from business page to Instagram to whatever, and it's just too much to even answer sometimes when the phone blows up. But
Right.
um, if I'm slow to answer, just be patient. But come like Thursday, Friday, I just couldn't answer anymore. I mean, I had GEMA reached out, Powder Coating Institute reached out, SEMA reached out, um, Tiger reached out, Columbia Coatings, Angela from Columbia Coatings reached out. I mean, so many individual powder coaters reached out that we know.
Right. Right.
You reached out. I mean, just so many companies reached out. Goyer Management reached out because they run PCI and they run the Powder Coating Tough magazine. I mean, just like I
Right.
can't believe. Scott Francis from Product Finishing. I haven't returned his call yet, or email yet, but I will. And I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on and on. So I will get back to you. And that's why over the weekend, I just sat there. I wanted to do something, but I had family in town that was just trying to, that had flown in from Oahu, and they were just trying to kind of, and I had to let them use my car just so they could run around town and
Right.
get their,
Right. Yeah.
get family all, their extended family all together and stuff. So I just kind of sat there and just got my act together personally, and whatever. But um, yesterday, or what was it, the day before or whatever, I got my fundraiser together and stuff like that. But I think what I'm going to do, and this is the miraculous thing, I let me see if I can, um, is the week that we that the fires happened. I'm not sure we can put this up on the, maybe I can, hold on. The week that we did the of the fires. I
Yes.
don't know if it's doing this. Why is it doing this? Um, we did a powder. We did something with our patina powder coat,
Uh-huh.
and I want to show everybody this. It is so cool, and I got an idea from another powder coater who said something to me. So let me see if I can share it here. Um, Sorry, I'm a little all over the place with my tabs. Um, this is the coolest thing. So, and it's kind of so ironic, like with um, I don't know why. Oh, entire screen window. Oh, here we go. Can you see the
Oh
tree?
yeah. Yeah. The banyan tree. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it looks like a banyan tree, but this was actually going on a fence or something, or some kind of gate. And
Okay.
Ross did the patina powder coat on it.
Okay. I gotcha.
So one of the other friends of ours, a patina, a powder coater friends of ours, suggested maybe we do a smaller version of it and we sell them as fundraisers.
Oh,
And then all the proceeds can go to, can go to raising funds
right.
for.
Right.
I'm like, wow. So I called the people that did this, and they're going to get me a bid for that and see if we can't, if anybody knows that the infamous banyan tree got burned and
Right.
they're
Right.
trying to save the tree. And they found out yesterday that there is still sap in the tree.
Wonderful.
And I guess they flew in a specialist or something. So they're going to
Sure.
try to save the tree as best they can.
Wow.
And the guy that takes care of the tree, he's a local boy, and I didn't know this at the time, but he's actually related to. I donated to my nephew is half Hawaiian, and donated to his Venmo account, and he takes care of the banyan tree with his 85-year-old grandma.
Oh wow.
So,
Very
anyways,
cool.
yeah, he's been taking care of the banyan tree. He cried when he went down there to go look at it.
I'm
He was
sure.
featured in the news. So
Yeah, it was. I saw it on the news last night. Yeah.
yeah,
Terrible. Yeah.
yeah. So I thought that's just too cool. The
Yeah.
day after the fire, they came and picked this up.
Wow.
And Ross wasn't happy with it. He thought it didn't, he wanted to work on it some more. But I just thought, are you kidding me? This is gorgeous. But, anyways, we don't know where it was going, though. I don't know. So we weren't sure where it was going, but
Oh.
it was going on some fence or something, or gate.
Huh. Wow. Very cool.
Yeah, that was the quickest picture I could take of it too. I mean,
Right.
it was just a quick one because they were loading it up, and I ran out there, and I'm like, wait.
Right. Well, sometimes you're so busy you don't even have time to take pictures of stuff,
It's so
Find
true.
that happens all the time. You know, customers there, they want to pick it up, hey, your parts are done, and next thing you know, and you say, damn, I didn't even get a picture of that. Oh well, plenty more opportunities, more parts in the future. I'm sure, we always have, but yeah, it
Yeah,
happens a lot. You just don't have time to get pictures.
yeah. So, and I'm sorry I haven't been on the show. I think I think, I don't know what happened. I think we just got really, really busy. I mean, busy in the sense that I was training my daughter. We only have this one spot to do stuff with, and we were really just working hard getting her going and training her at this desk, and that's kind of where I do everything.
Right, right,
And it
right.
just it's kind of hard to do it all from this one desk, you know.
Right.
Um, but I have all these awesome. I have like four or five, but I'm gonna get back into it. You know, I hope the fans can understand. Sometimes you have to just, I don't know. I don't know what my fans think.
Well, you know, um, people understand it's life, right? And life happens, and things occur, and so many things happen that are beyond your control, or anyone's control. So I think people are understanding of that, especially in the powder coating world. you know, eh, we all know if it can go wrong, you could do that job 100 times, and
Right.
101 time it's a disaster. And it doesn't matter whether it's your first day on the job or whether you've been coding for 10 years. And that's kind of what happens a lot of times, in just our everyday life. You plan, this will be no
Yeah.
problem, and then monkey wrench gets thrown into things, and you're completely sidetracked, and you've lost track of time. Your agenda is completely screwed up. And how do you get back on track? And
Yeah.
that becomes really hard. All these things are in motion, and you're just saying, wait a second. 2 weeks ago, my life was great. Everything was easy. It was rolling, nice and systematic. But now, trying to get back, I was doing my podcast and editing and getting ready for this one, and now, you know, things just kind of get thrown up in the air, and you got to just take a deep breath and reassess and get your priorities back in order, and you know what, get organized, and organization is the key to it, and then start at
Yeah.
ground zero, and drive forward.
You know, it's funny because it's like, it's not that anything was going really wrong or sideways for us. I mean, I came back from powder coating week in February, March, and we got an invite to do a white paper and be featured in Powder Coating Tough magazine. And that's what ended up happening. And then I started freaking out because I knew I was ready to write that article, but I didn't know how. I'd never written a white paper before.
Right,
And it took a long time to edit that article because I had so much to say and I didn't know how to say it.
right.
It's so out of the box and so new of a finish.
Uh-huh.
And how do you write about something that's never been, I mean, everybody reads those articles and it's saying, it's, some of them are just so like, it's the same technology just rewritten over and over again,
Right,
or
right,
said in a different way, or and patinas are exciting, but they're kind of less technical and more, um, I don't know if you want to say decorative or just so beautiful or more artistic, or like, so how do I write them in a more technical way?
right.
um
I don't think you
you
can.
know
Yeah,
yeah, right. So I had a lot of data that I wanted to say. It wasn't necessarily technical data, but it was data nonetheless.
right,
It was survey data, and it was data about what people thought about them,
right,
and it was addressing trends in the marketplace and how they could cross over into mega trends and like trends that paint coatings couldn't achieve
right.
that powder coatings could, right?
Mhm.
So, um, but it had never been written before. So, like, that was the challenge for me. And so I spent a lot of time writing that. And then the next thing was that it got published, and then all these leads came in for it, and that got overwhelming because I had no way to track all these leads, and then I got some help with that.
Right.
And then I got some interest, and that culminated into some meetings, and I hope we can move forward in a big way, um, globally with it. And I can't really say much more than that. But if not, then Ross and I will just pick another avenue to go, and just we'll keep trudging, um,
Right. Right.
with it. It's not easy to do what we're trying to do with it.
Right.
It's easy enough just to say, okay, we'll show you how, and we'll, and then there's that. You know what I mean? It's not that easy. Yeah, but I want to I want to share it with the world in a way that everyone can benefit from it, and that in a framework that works for everyone, right? And it's like, you've got all these say you've got all this cattle in the corral, and if you let the one out, then you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you got to be careful about letting all the cattle out.
Well, right. Right.
Or you're going to have, like, you're going to have too many cattle in the range, right?
Right.
Like, that's it, and then it's not a matter of the it's not a matter of letting too much cattle out. It's just like, you want to make sure that everybody has the support of the technology that we give them,
Right.
right?
Right.
And it's not just North America, it's Europe too, that we're having to worry about. And that's the problem, is it's so broadly needed and broadly wanted.
Sure.
How do we approach each market when each market has different needs? And that's what we've discovered, and that's what our meeting was about yesterday,
Interesting.
and stuff. So, uh, because powder coatings needs are different in different regions, right?
Absolutely there.
And
Absolutely.
that's what I'm learning now is, America is like the Wild West when it comes to powder coatings, or
Right.
whereas Europe is like, yeah, we like our powders like this and like that, and we only like them through this way,
Right.
and you have to be specified, and we like our bow ties like this, and and
Yeah.
then you've got, like, weehoo, we like it anyway we like.
Right. Right.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride,
Right.
so, like, how do I develop a product line around all of those different kinds of people?
Yeah. And you can't. All you can do is kind of have. Uh, I guess you'd say just a basic format, and then however, for those that want to take it further, they take it further. For those that are happy with the baseline, they use the baseline. For those that it's too much, then you have to take it down a step. But I don't think that one size is going to fit all, and I
No.
don't and I definitely know, having spent better part of my whole last 20 years traveling the world. uh, I can tell you that everything is so different. Asia culture norms are so different than European versus North American versus South American. It's all so different, and
Yeah.
and that's the way it is with powder coatings too. You look at wheels, for example, in Europe, and then look at wheels in North America. I mean, we got crazy wheels. Go to Germany, or go to Amsterdam, or go to France or Paris or anything. It's silver. It's silver. It's silver, and it's silver. So I mean, I, I shouldn't say that. There are some of the sports cars, yeah, a little bit fancier, but for the most part, wheels are silver.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so and that's good. It's they
Right.
don't need flash. They don't need doesn't have to be fancy. Nice silver wheel is good. You know, so uh, and I'm sure that that's the way you're going to find with your patina powder coat, that you know um,
It's a distribution thing. It's twofold. It's a distribution thing in Europe, and it's a but for us, it's also a performance thing in Europe. Um, and then thirdly, it's a performance thing for Maui Powder Works.
Sure.
So, and I wish I could talk more about it, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. Like at first I thought, wow, Europe would be the easiest place to start it. And then now I'm thinking, maybe not, you
Right.
know,
Right.
but we're working it. I mean, any lead that comes in that, we're just baby stepping our way there,
Well, you have to. You have to, because it'd be overwhelming if you didn't.
Right.
you know, and then you just gotta decide. Okay, focus on one area and develop that, or get the base plan, and then I guess spin off from that. But until you've got that basic program or training or base plan, it's pretty hard to say what would we do in Asia, what could we do in North America, what would we do in Europe. It'd be overwhelming, very overwhelming.
Yeah. And I just, I think, it's easy for people looking in to realize it, it seems, looking at it seems simple enough. Well, you just do this, that, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Well, yeah, it seems that, but it's not.
Right.
There's a lot of
Well, well,
compli-
I mean, think about that. Talk about, as a powder coater, um, telling somebody, "Oh, you throw the wheel in the strip tank, pull it out of the strip tank, rinse it, neutralize it real quick, give it a blast, coat it, it's done." Right? And tell somebody that, and they're like, "Wow, that's all there is to it." But then go ahead and do that process that we just explained,
gosh,
and
that's
it's
so
a
true,
whole different animal, right? It's a
isn't
whole
it?
different animal.
Yeah,
So it sounds great, sounds easy. Oh man, I can do that. I can just go down to Harbor Freight, get me a little Harbor Freight gun, put some furnace filters up, a little box fan, shoot some powder, do my wheels, piece of cake.
yeah, yeah.
And so again, you can dumb it down to the lowest
You
level for
can
sure.
dumb it down, but it's
Yes,
not
but
vivid.
the to be cliche here, but the adhesion aspects of it, right?
Right.
Getting
To
someone to
do it
to, trans,
right
to do it right is a whole different,
is a whole nother.
whole nother animal.
It
Really is.
is. It
So
is.
so with your process that you're describing, that you're talking about, how I'm going to interpret it versus someone in Europe's going to interpret it versus someone in Asia's going to, or someone down in Florida or Canada or on the East
Yeah,
Coast
well,
or West
if
Coast,
you
it's
want
all
to make,
different.
if you really want it done right in Europe, you need to be Qualicoat 1 and 2. And,
Uh-huh.
Qualicoat 1, they won't even look at you. I mean,
Right, right. Yeah, their
those
standard.
guys doing wheel powder coating in Europe, and I mean, they're nothing.
Right,
Those are like little gnats to them, you
right,
know.
right,
I mean, you think it's hard for us to show ourselves as wheel powder coaters here in America? Those
right,
guys are just, you know, they're nothing. They
right.
have no support system in Europe.
None, none.
None. You
Yeah,
know, and we're like laughing at them when they post in our groups like, "Hey, do you know where I can get some stripper?" And it's like, "No,
right,
just
right,
just Google it or just whatever, right?" And they're like, "No, I have to ship it from
right.
America." You're like, "What?"
Same with
You know,
powder. Yeah, all the time they struggle just to get good powder, quality powder,
right?
you know.
Yeah.
Um,
And we thought Australians had it bad, right?
right,
People like Benny and stuff have
right,
to pay all that and shipping and stuff,
right,
and
right,
BC and everybody, and SNS. But it's even worse for those guys in England and
oh yeah,
UK. It's not
right,
England; it's UK.
right,
But we had fortunate enough to have an opportunity in the UK that we're trying to put together, and I think we're so close to that one. And it's not it doesn't have to be a Qualicoat 1, but we will eventually have to become Qualicoat 1 and Qualicoat 2. But hopefully by that time we'll have had the attention of someone, a formulator there to
right,
help us.
Right.
get. And that's what we need is, these suppliers, these powder suppliers are so huge. They're
Right.
global.
Oh yeah.
And if we can get their attention,
Right.
then we can kind of tell them, oh, hey, that powder I want, can you do this? Can you
Right.
do that? You know, um, can you make it like this?
Right.
And that's the stuff that we know that we like, what we're
Right.
looking for,
Right. Right.
you know, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It's got a challenge ahead of you, but you know, anything worth having is worth working for. So that's the bottom. It's the old cliche. Hard work pays off, and
Yeah.
there's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts to the top. You know.
But that article I wrote in Powder Coating Taft magazine is a 3-year goal. It took 3 years to get there. That was a 3-year goal.
Well, yeah, that's you know having subscribed to that, and I think I've had that magazine for 2-3 years, I think, something like that. You never see a custom coder uh have an article in there. It's always industrial, it's always big large batch coder, it's
I was
never.
very grateful. I was
Yeah.
very grateful. And
Yeah.
they
So,
helped. They helped. I mean, they rearranged the article for me. I mean, that was my,
sure.
they handheld me, or, you know, and I was happy that it was even published.
Right.
Like
Right.
that was a lot of
Yeah.
those people will have degrees.
Yeah. Well, it's a big boost. It's a big boost,
So
to your
I was
business
very,
and
very
your plan.
grateful, and will
Yeah.
always be grateful for that.
Yeah. For sure.
So,
For
um,
sure.
but moving on, I don't know what else we want to talk about, but I do have some, you know, uh, harrowing stories. I think that as far as the fires, it's like, I think there was a huge travesty. I mean, it's quite evident that these fires were more than meets the eye, as far as unprecedented, um, unusual, not normal. Um, we were these fires. We were in a similar situation in 2017, when we were still living in Lahaina, where we had Hurricane Lane. I don't know if you remember Hurricane Lane coming through the islands.
I don't
It
remember.
actually hit Honolulu, and they actually did get rain and flooding and stuff like a regular hurricane.
Uh-huh.
We just had dry winds and fires. And
Okay.
that's Ross's family had a 5-acre estate in Lahaina, and they nearly lost their house like twice in one night. So the
Oh,
fires started below, came up, and then went back down. And if it wasn't for Ross had to get his mom out of the house not once but twice. And then, if it wasn't for him watering the propane tank and the grass around it, it would have just exploded and then ignited the house on fire. Um, they lost 8 or 9 homes in the subdivision that they were at, and every home around his parents' estate was caught fire except for theirs.
wow.
Yeah. And that was it back in 2017. So, like, the first thing that out of the lieutenant governor's mouth was, I don't know, we never had this before, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hell no, you're a liar. This
Right.
happened before on Maui. So, don't tell me you never had a hurricane that never
Right.
brought rain and then caused fires. So that's not true.
Right.
But
Right.
I think that some of the contributing factors was that, and I've talked about this on the show before, our infrastructure is second world. Our electricity is second world. You don't see it here, and our everything about our island is fragile. Our infrastructure is fragile. It's not like the mainland. Um, it's a delicate balance. Everything that we have here is a delicate balance. Our ecosystem, our infrastructure and utilities, our food,
Right.
it's all an illusion in a sense. It's paradise, but it's an illusion in some sense, right?
Sure. Right.
Because if the dock workers go on strike, we don't get food.
Right.
Um, if the planes, if we have COVID, no tourists.
Right.
If the pilots go on strike, no tourists.
Right. Right.
Um, if get one hurricane, like everything's flooded out and nobody can get on the roads, right?
Right.
Um, and this is just another one of those things, where it's just been like the perfect kind of Katrina. It's like a Katrina. I would call it like the Katrina of the Pacific, because um, that's kind of how it feels, except for it's worse in the sense that you can't reach us. You cannot. It's complete isolation in the sense, and even the people that are on the west side are isolated. They're in a bubble. They still don't have cell phone service. They can only text people now. The electricity just finally went on.
Wow.
um, I finally told my daughter last Thursday, like the day, a day 48 hours after it happened. Cause she's up north of Lahaina. So I said, look, just come over here. We got everything, water, gas,
Right.
there was no gasoline. Everybody had pumped their gas already. They were already out of fuel. Um, People were already just starting to make food. And as soon as the food got there or the ice got there, people were saying there was looting. There wasn't looting. They were just going to the trucks and just grabbing because they were so hungry, or they were so thirsty, or they were so whatever.
Wow.
They were just attacking the trucks and just grabbing and then leaving.
Right.
Um, it was she basically only had like butane and uh, to cook on, and once that ran out, there was cold showers. It was just the communication between the county and the mayor and the police, um, the state and the governor has been horrendous. Like the left hand and the right hand don't know what they're doing. Even FEMA and you know and then I mean it's absurdity of like, I don't want to say like the cowering or the adoration of the governor, saying things like, "Oh, we're so grateful that FEMA's here." I mean, he just like um, just ingratiating himself to the FEMA director. Like, it's her fucking job to be here, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, it's her job to
Yeah.
be here.
Yeah.
Don't say you're grateful.
If you brought up Katrina, and if you go back, if you remember the horrible disconnect between the National Guard, FEMA, FEMA directors having steaks and drinks, and everything's going to be good. Now, yeah, we got it covered. We're good, boss. Everything is fine. The local grunts are saying we got a problem here. We got major problems here, and you find that the government, whether that be federal or state, county, municipal, nobody works together. It's when there's a catastrophic event, everybody points the fingers. It's your fault. No, it's your fault. Wait a minute. You didn't call us. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. There's no organization, and when these things happen, these catastrophes occur, you just see, number one, and I've told my kids this, and I tell family and friends this: if you think the government is coming to rescue you, you are crazy. Okay? They are not coming. You have to rescue yourself. You have to take care of yourself. The folks that jumped in the ocean to save themselves, that's right. because guess what? The FEMA director ain't coming. The FEMA director's still in LA waiting for the chartered plane to bring her to come in to say, oh man, this is terrible. We'll get you federal aid. No, nobody's coming. You got to save yourself. And, and that's the takeaway from every time there's a catastrophe of epic proportion. The only people that the heroic events that you hear, it's not about the National Guard coming in and saving you. It's about neighborhoods and community members banding together and going and saving elderly people and getting them out, and children and everything else. It's not the government. The government is
This
not going to
is
save you.
this is my main point today. This is why our founding fathers made a republic. They made a republic because they knew that a government, no matter how great or big or small or whatever, could not save you. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right. You can't.
It,
Yeah,
it,
you can't.
they're homesteaders that you
Right,
could only save yourself in an emergency.
right.
And Buggy, I don't know if anybody's watched his videos. Buggy saved the. He didn't save the Methodist church, but he saved his auntie's house behind the Methodist church. But the Methodist church was his church, and part of what Buggy was saying was, Buggy's the kind of guy that has like he's real scary looking because he's got the tattoos all over his face and
Right.
like everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And heart of gold though.
Yeah.
And he went and had to put water all over his auntie's house and stuff, and that's the only reason why his auntie's house was saved, was because he put water. And even the preschool that's behind the Methodist church, which ironically was the preschool that Alexa, one of the preschools I think Jessica went to, was partially saved. um, you know, he goes, you cannot blame people that left their loved ones behind, you know. And I have a friend who, I'll show you her story today if there's time. She had to do that.
Yeah. That's tough.
My friend Lori, she is, she's a stout Lahaina woman, and she born and raised and will do anything for this community. And she's very well known in this community. She got me, and her and I kind of got involved to a certain point at our at my elementary school, Catholic elementary school, and we put together an archive of all the Catholic nuns and the Catholic school, some of the pictures and stuff, which fortunately the Catholic school is still there and the Catholic church is still there.
Oh, wonderful.
But you know, her whole thing was to kind of document. That was kind of like her part-time hobby, was to document everything in Lahaina,
Wow.
like events, like Halloween, and just she's Chinese,
Mhm.
part Chinese, so like anything like Chinese New Year or anything to
Right.
do with anything happening in Lahaina, she was taking pictures of or sharing videos of. And she's Hawaiian, so she's like any event. She's so well connected in the community. And she has an uncle who was kind of invalid and in the bed, and she said in her post, she lives up Lahaina Luna, which is the part that was burned down, and of course she lost everything. And she handed her uncle a fire extinguisher. She tried to explain to him what was happening, handed him a fire extinguisher, left all the doors unlocked, left the house, called 911, and went uphill to like Lahaina Luna High School.
Wow. It's terrible.
She had to leave him there.
Yeah.
And I have a video of her. Um, I mean, she's been off kind of, she said she's off the grid because, like, it's hard, probably hard for her to even talk about what she had to do.
Well, of course. Yeah. Yeah. That's not easy for anyone to have to make that choice or that
But
decision.
yeah, she had to make that choice. Who would you be able to make that choice? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, but here's a video of like what her now. Fortunately, her um, uh, fortunately her let me close this. I mean, her again, um, her uncle was kind of older, you know, but and had lived a long life, but still, like, doesn't make it any easier, right?
No, it doesn't. Definitely does not. Terrible choice.
Here's her one of her videos here.
Mm.
That was her leaving her house.
Wow. How uh how hard were those winds blowing?
80
Wow.
plus.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And you have to realize they were reaching degrees of 1,000.
Jeez.
There
Mm.
were people in, I mean, there were people in, I mean, if you were burned alive in your car, you were burned alive at 1,000 degrees or more. I mean, the fires alone were 1,000 degrees.
You're right. Wow. Terrible.
I mean, this is Michael. I mean, my Ross's brother grew up with Michael. Um, he was looking for his father. His father didn't make it. Thank God, Irene. Irene used to run the Ace Hardware in Lahaina. I used to see her every day. They're alive, thank God. But I think their house burned down. Um, I mean, these are all friends I grew up with. Heidi, Mary. These are all people I know. Here's Angie. Angie's parents were the first people to perish in Lahaina. They were the first people that we found out that died in the fire, and they died at home. They got stuck in their house,
Oh.
and they just started. Angie's dad was one of the first people to announce um, that they announced yesterday as one of the first people. Like they did a DNA thing,
Right.
and he's one of the first of the 106 that they've announced that have passed away, and they've DNA matched. And she's an ICU nurse,
Oh Lord.
but both of her parents died. I mean, this is somebody I grew up with in Lahaina. This is Patrick. I'm hoping he said he'd come on the show. He's like one of the first. This is his Halloween costume. Um, he's like one of the first people. In fact, I'm gonna see if we can head over to his Facebook page because he was like one of the first. Here, this is like one of the first. This is his video of his house burning.
Oh.
Um, that's it. That's what's left. And everything was burned. We used to live across that. There is my old house, right? That's him. That there is my old house across from him because we used to live across the street from him. And that old house across the street is where my friend, because when we moved out of that house, my friend moved into that house, and that house is gone, and my friend lost everything in that house. My friend Andy moved into that house. But what's interesting about Patrick is I don't know how Patrick managed to post this because there were no communications. It's a miracle that he managed to post this at 1 o'clock in the morning. We don't know because how he managed to get this out, because effectively there were no community. It was a miracle because he was like one of the first people to post out of Lahaina.
Huh.
And so it was nice to know that Patrick was alive, right? But he,
Right.
he was like
Right.
one of the first people to know that he was alive. It was crazy.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, it is super crazy. Um, but yeah, and Patrick is, oh, I have to show you this other one. This is, okay. Can you see this one where it says Tim Tompkins? I don't know if you can see this one.
No, I'm not seeing that one.
Oh, okay, wait. Okay, let me share, stop sharing, and then I'll reshare. Okay, this is on the Maui Fire and Flood Disaster Relief Group. You see this guy, Tim?
Yeah.
Tim Tompkins used to work for us when he was in his 20s, and we were in our 20s. But he was in his young 20s, okay?
Okay.
Ross used to be a boat captain. Here, I'll show you. I don't know if I can. Oh, yeah, I'll show you Tim's profile here. I'll show you what Ross and I used to do when we were kids, okay? Tim is a boat captain now, but he lives in South Carolina. He's from South Carolina. And we recently reconnected with Tim a year ago. Actually, I reconnected with Tim a week before Ross got into his horrible motorcycle accident. And I was going to send him a picture of the boat we all used to work on.
Okay.
And stuff, because we used to do boat charters and stuff out of Lahaina.
Gotcha.
Tim, it loves Lahaina. I mean, that was some of the best time in our life. And he knows Kevin MacArthur. Kevin is my classmate. I don't know how him and Kevin know each other, but whatever. And then Tim Putnam is a boat captain out of Lahaina Harbor. So that's how Tim and Tim know each other. But anyways, Tim is offering anybody that lives in Lahaina to come out to Myrtle Beach and stay with him in his home.
Wow.
For free. Like, just shoot him an email or a message. This is incredible. Like, I don't even know how to. That is just a beautiful offer. And I said something on that to that effect. I got to share this post. This is amazing. But this is the kind of effect that Maui has on you. You know,
Yeah.
It just makes me cry.
Yeah.
But I got to share this post and how awesome this is. And Barbara, who liked this post, this is amazing. Barbara is a client of mine from way back when I used to do interior decorating. But I want to take you to Tim's page, because he posted if you're ever in South Carolina, say hi to Tim Tompkins for me. He's a boat captain in South Carolina, and he's an awesome guy, and it's so good to know him. And I want to show you a picture of his. Where do I go to his profile? Main page. I want to show you a picture of the boat we used to work on. Oh, here's a picture of the boat. Oh no, that's not the boat. I think he posted a picture of it. Shucks. Where is it? Where do you go to people's photos? See all photos. Now I'm gonna get creepy. I thought he posted a picture of it. Darn it. Well, that's what it used to look like. Oh, shucks. Darn it. I'll send you a picture of the boat.
Okay.
It's called the First Class. I'm not going to stop sharing now. I'm bragging about I'm bragging about Tim Tompkins, but um, is a beautiful person, and we have lots of good times when we were young. And another person, Ross taught how to sail and stuff. Might have it saved on my favorites, but big, beautiful sailboat.
Nice, nice.
Anyways, some harrowing stories, and there's some other ones are like uh, a group of guys or in the early first few days when resources were so thin. There were a group of motorcycle guys, like dirt bike guys, that were running up and down the um, old cane roads along the mountain, hills and stuff,
Uh-huh.
that were running that were running resources and whatever anybody needed up and down to get resources and whatever people needed to their homes, or running people up and down. I don't know. They were just heroes, unsung heroes.
Right, right. Well, oh, you're going to hear a lot more stories before this is over. Obviously, about the heroism of everyday people. And that's what you see usually. It's the neighbor, it's the grandma, it's the uncle, it's the aunt. That's the hero. It really is. Not
Yeah.
necessarily the firemen, the policemen, the National Guardmen. It's the people in the community that become the real heroes. You know.
I think that some people are upset about the fire department and the police. They're really angry about them right now. 17 out of 18 fire department firemen lost their homes. Um, I think one or two of the fire trucks to burned up.
Yeah.
I think they were trying, but some of the newer information was that a state worker, because our pumps are generated by electric,
Uh huh.
and the water wasn't there. They had to turn on a pump, and the water wasn't there. So early on in the fire, um, there was a earlier fire, and then it got put out, but then it was still smoldering, and then it reignited, and then they didn't put it out. So a bunch of construction workers brought up their water trucks, and they tried to put it out, but then they called up the state guy, and he was being kind of stingy or something with the water. He had to ask permission from a farm to get the water to turn on or something. It was just some weird communication thing going on. It was really weird. And because of that delay, it didn't get put out fast enough. um, but there are some other more serious issues that happened that are piecing together a framework for what went on, and that is eyewitness te- now this is on the street people, now not like investigative journalism, okay, but just the guy on the street interviewing another guy, right, about who was in the neighborhood kind of thing, okay. But this guy was interviewed, older man, who works on Front Street selling knick-knacky stuff, right? And
Right.
he was getting out of Front Street because he started to see the fires, and he was like, I'm out of here. And so he was walking north out of town, and he saw a lot of traffic leaving Lahaina because of the fire. But he also saw a cop car blocking traffic out of town. And the reason why he was blocking the traffic was because there were electrical wires down. And so a lot of cars were trapped going out of town because of electrical wires. And a lot of people were blocked to leave. And that blocked other traffic from leaving and people getting trapped in cars.
Oh,
There's one, um, and I don't want to drag this on too much, but there is one, because I know you've all seen Um, I think that that's kind of what's really been telling for a lot of it is that the fires that are there's a lot of the fires were kind of coming down from all three valleys, and that's what's perplexing me as a resident, a former resident. I've never seen fires like this before. Usually, even during Hurricane Lane, when we had that one fire, it was just in Laniapoco. It was just in, um, it was just in, it was in Coahoma Valley. It wasn't in all three valleys. It was just in the one valley.
Gotcha.
And so it almost was like dragon's tongue or dragon's fire kind of thing. It
Right.
was coming down all three. And that's what doesn't make sense to me. I've lived there my whole life and nobody's ever seen a fire like that before. So
Wow.
that's where a lot of the conspiracy stuff is coming
Right.
from, hearing a lot of it. And I don't believe, I mean, I've watched some of the conspiracy videos and some of it is just like way off base, but,
Right.
um, so I don't know, but, I do know that something's not right there because even with the high winds, and they were kind of crazy, people here call them obaki winds. And obaki just means ghost wind. Obaki is a Japanese word for ghost. Um, obaki winds are ghost winds, and they sound the best equivalent, and you probably know this, is they are like tornado winds, that freight train
Right.
kind of sound, where it sounds like, it sounds like a
Right.
freight train coming in. It's like that.
Wow.
And then it gets worse because the fire is actually creating that vortex
Right.
effect.
Right.
So it's like that. But you usually just have it coming from one valley, not all three. So there was some kind of vortex or something happening above, or I'm not sure. There was some kind of climate or weather event or something happening above that was forcing winds down all three valleys, because that's the only way that would explain the kind of winds that we had. And that's why we didn't we didn't have the electricity to get the water pumps going, but it didn't matter anyways because we didn't even have enough police and fire people there to even put out the fires anyway. So it was like, forget it. And that's why so many people, like, we had a lot of homeless that were, I mean, they were just, or not homeless, but just people that just hung out on Front Street,
Right. Right.
and just, oh, well, this is my life. Now, we did have one lady, and this hasn't been confirmed, but this came out on Facebook, um, not Facebook, but Instagram this morning, and it might just be connected. I'm not sure. But early on, we heard that there was a lady that had a baby down by the harbor, and she handed her baby to a fireman. And then, because she had to jump into the ocean to live. So she handed her baby to the fireman, and neither her nor the baby nor the fireman have been seen. So we're not sure if
Really.
that's a story, or
Right.
because we don't know now. But one story came up on Instagram today, and it is a local lady was getting in her car and leaving with her 9-year-old and her other family members, and she was getting in the car, and just as she was leaving in her car, she got a knock on the window, and it was a grandma knocking on the door saying, "Take my grandbaby."
Mm.
And she's like, "Lady, I don't know.
Right.
What do you mean take your grandbaby? Like, I could barely like." And then I guess she took the baby, and she gave it to her 9-year-old, and the next thing you know, they were trying to leave, and they got stuck, and they just got out of the car and ran. They couldn't even
Wow.
go in the car by that time, and they don't know what happened to the grandma. So
Mm,
somebody, so that's when you're seeing stuff about kids and grandmas and stuff. What it is we have a lot of people that work 2 and 3 jobs here. We have a lot of immigrants and a lot of we have a lot of immigrants that live here, but we also have a lot of people that struggle to live here, and they have to work in hotels and
right.
multiple jobs. And that's why a lot of people have unattended kids. As far as like they were out of school or whatever, they weren't out of school. They were already out of school. There was school. It was 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were already out of school. The only
Nice.
schools that didn't have school that day were the kids up country because of the upcountry fires. And
Mm,
those people lost 15 homes or something like that. So it was
wow.
Kamehameha, Seabury, and a couple of elementary schools in my area that didn't go to school that day. All the Lahaina schools had school.
Mm,
They were just out of school already because it started at 4 o'clock or 3:30 or something like that. But basically, I think it was a down telephone pole wire that started a fire, and it just because of the winds, it just took off, and we have really
wow.
dry grass,
Yeah.
and it just happened really fast, and we have 200-year-old whaling town
Right.
with a lot of lead paint and a lot of
Right. Wood
cinder,
structure. Yeah. Yeah.
and at the same time, do I think a lot of billionaires and multimillionaires have secret agendas and plans to make something out of Lahaina into something more? Yeah, I kind of do,
Yeah.
because the governor keeps saying and dropping word bombs on Lahaina and about Lahaina and about the future of Lahaina. And he's like a major 0 point, what do they call those silver cities, or what do they call those cities? Um, uh, the 0 point cities or something. I mean, I keep telling you guys that they want Hawaii to be 0 point before everybody else does. Like, they're on an agenda to make Hawaii um, that EV 15-minute city. What do they call it? You know,
Yeah. I've heard the talk. I'm not really familiar with it, but yeah, I know
Ross called
what
it
you mean.
something. I don't know. What does he call it? He called it something. Our governor is like full on, he's like full on like that. And the Democrats are fully into that too. Like, and
Hmm.
Hawaii is committed. I think we're supposed to be 5 years ahead of the Agenda 21, where they want all of us to be 0 point and all this stuff. So if you think about why all these people are moving here, I mean, a lot of people like that are moving here and building homes here. Smart cities, that's what it is. Smart cities.
Right.
Um, it
Interesting.
when you connect the dots that way, it does make sense. And a lot of people, they're saying, and I don't know if it's 100% true, but I imagine a lot of them have been called to sell their lands and
Right.
stuff. So I think there is some, it might be getting blown out of proportion, but I think there is some people that have been called to sell their land, and opportunists and stuff like that.
Right.
There is some of that, but it's too chaotic now to, you know. But I really do, my call to action is I do really hope that this stream gets out there, and please
Right.
donate as best you can, whatever you can.
For sure. For
It's
sure.
painful. It's painful to watch. I know. It's not your neighborhood. I understand. Um,
Well, you can't say that it's not your neighborhood because you know what? It could be, and that's nobody thought that Katrina would happen. Nobody thought the Maui fires would happen. Nobody, any devastation that has occurred, nobody ever thought that, oh, that's those people, right? That's them. That happens in California. That happens in New York. That happens in Florida. That happens in Dallas or Houston. Doesn't happen in my town, but it, you know, you find out real quickly that you know what, it can happen in anybody's town. So obviously, if you have the means or whatnot to support the GoFundMe, that's a great thing. And I know from the past ones that I've been involved in to help folks, every little bit counts and does help.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I mean, you can go to my homepage. It's mauipowderworks.com. I think you can go to my Instagram and it's in my profile.
Right.
Simply enough, just at Maui Powder Works. Those are the two
Right.
easiest places to find it.
Yep.
Um, and it's coming along. I'm getting there, and I know more is coming.
Right.
I know it's been a long podcast, and I just wanted to share some of my personal stories of my friends. I'm gonna try to have some more of my friends, and I actually just had um, BJ uh, was on with his own personal story and his own personal GoFundMe with his Vermont flooding.
Floods. Yeah.
I,
Right.
and
Right.
then lo and behold, I was feeling sorry for him, and I donated to his cause.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
who knew I was going to have my own
Right. Right. Yeah.
and stuff. And who knows? It's around the corner. Who knows? But my point is this: if you have listened to this podcast, if you have visited us, we had 3 powder coaters come and visit us in July. I think
Right.
somebody even came in June. And if you've just come to Maui, I had every single one of the guys that had emailed me have come to Maui, been to Maui.
Right.
Maui infects you. It gets under your skin.
Yeah.
Whether you visited our tiny little shop or not.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
you
I've never
know,
made it there. I've been to Honolulu, but I've never made it to Maui. So
it's
it's def-
infectious. It
yeah.
is infectious, and it. You can't. You can't ever forget it. I mean, I haven't seen Tim since he was like 24, 25. And
Right.
that was over 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And here he is donating his home and inviting
Right.
people to move to South Carolina if they
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
That's if you know Kim and Ross, if you've met me, if you've talked to me on the phone, if we've done a job for you, um, if you've met Ross on a good day, um, you know, then aloha,
Right.
Maui,
Right.
Maui Powder Works, Lahaina, who we are. So please donate to our GoFundMe, and I promise you, all these funds are gonna go to friends and family in need. Every single one of my friends, thankfully, my close friends and family are alive, thank God, but they do
Right.
need your support. Every single one lost their home, every single one. And every single one lost their business.
Oh,
And these are people that make our cards, our business cards,
right. Right.
uh, our t-shirts, our hats,
Oh,
every single one. I mean, we still have, even though our business isn't over there, we still never changed our resources.
right.
We still were using businesses on that side. Even um, our water delivery guy is on that side. We never changed that either.
Right. Right.
The good news out of all this, my PO box is on there, and I don't have to pay my bills this month because I can't get my mail. That was the
Right.
best part. I'm like, I looked at, no, that's not true. I mean, yeah,
Right.
I was sad. That was the last vestige of my life of Lahaina, living in was my PO box. I just paid the bill for another year, and I'm
Uh,
like, I just couldn't get out of Lahaina. You know, I still have my heart there.
Right. Right.
And I can't get my mail now because the whole building burned down.
Right.
Um,
Well,
so I don't know, and I still haven't heard from my bank. That's my bank burnt down too, and I'm surprised I haven't heard from Bank of Hawaii.
hmm,
Um, they haven't emailed me. Not, you know, my bank
right.
account is there, but I mean,
Right. Of course.
digitally, my money is still there digitally.
Right.
But
Right.
fortunately, I didn't have a safe deposit box or anything.
Right.
One guy, a friend of mine, had a safe, and he said he went in there to go get the safe, and all of his stack of gold was
Oh
melted.
man. Oh yeah. Right. The glob. Yeah.
So,
Literally.
anyways, Rich, I thank you for putting up
Yeah.
with me. It's
Hey.
not easy asking for money. It's
Yeah.
not
Well.
easy.
Well, Kim, the powder coating world appreciates you and appreciates you bringing the podcast, whatnot. So if the community can give back a little bit and help you guys out, I think it's an awesome thing. And that's at the end of the day, I said it. I think the last time you had me on, you know, um, I powder coaters help powder coaters. I mean, you know, for the most part, powder coaters are good, hardworking people, willing to help at the moment's notice. Whether they can or they can't, everybody will put their 2 cents in. Whether it's right or not is a different story. But everybody wants to try to help out, right?
Yeah,
And whether it's that particular set of wheels that's giving you troubles, or whether it's how to quote something or whatnot, or it's a fellow coder in need that just needs some help. That's the
yeah,
beauty of this trade. So for the
yeah.
most part, I mean, you've always got 1% in every trade and every job that are just jerks, right? No matter what. But the other 99% of the folks that are professional powder
I
coaters,
like to think that they're just misunderstood. Rich.
misunderstood. Nope.
Maybe they're just, looking at things a little. They look at things a little different,
Yeah.
and
Well, that's the way the world is. That 1%,
yeah,
1% of the world that has 99% of all the problems, right? That's typical. That's what you see. The other 99% of the world is doing what they're supposed to do and helping their fellow man and living by the good book and the good word,
yeah,
and. So yeah. So if we can give back and help out one another, obviously this is a prime example of some
yeah.
folks in need that we can help out. So
I hope so. I mean, these people certainly need our help and stuff. But my family's safe, and Ross and I are safe, and
well, that's
hopefully our livelihood is safe. I don't know. I mean, that's yet to be determined. Right now, we're okay. We're finishing
right.
up a large job, but the phone is quiet,
Yeah. Right. Right.
and
Understandable.
it's a three-legged chair. So
Right.
cut
Right.
one of the legs off. I don't know,
Right. Right. Yeah. For sure.
but we'll see what happens. So I appreciate
Okay.
your time with me tonight,
Yeah.
and
Of course.
I love and miss everybody. And I will get back on more often. And you might have to put up with me talking about Lahaina a little bit longer, but I promise you, we'll get back to powder coating and get out some more content.
Sounds good.
All
All
right,
right.
take
You
care.
take it easy. All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.